Hello, this is Tony Hall here in Lethbridge, Alberta, looking out at the world from Canada. We're waging the battle for reality here with Maisoon Rice. Maisoon Rice is a regular guest, and for some reason I think of Barry Weiss when I think of Maisoon. Barry Weiss gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars to run she's going to be running CBS News, and she kind of is doing the spin doctoring for Netanyahu. Her boss is Larry Ellison. She represents kind of the advantages of being in with the Zionists and being a very sort of aggressive Zionist herself. Uh, Maysoon doesn't even like to use the word Zionist. She prefers to use the word the Jews because it's much larger what we're up against than Zionism as she sees it. And if you don't mind, Maysoon, I'm just going to set the stage because it's October 17. The last 2 weeks have been incredibly intense with major news. And this little place in Israel, and which is on top of a place called Palestine, it really does sort of bring together some of the world's major trajectories and what's really happening. So it's a small place, it's a very localized issue, but it's a global issue. And to my way of thinking, uh, the way this thing is unfolded, let me just lay out that there was an attack on Hamas, who is being accused of running this resistance, of being terrorists, essentially, trying to destroy Israel and trying to, Israel has to do self-defense against Hamas. It's a very big claim. Now Hamas is supposed to, you know, on September the 9th, Israel bombed Doha, which has a big U.S. Air Force uh, terminal there. It's kind of weird that the uh, emir of uh, Qatar hosts Hamas at the same time as he hosts a major military base for the United States. So there was an attack by Israel on Hamas on September the 9th, where they were trying to kill Hamas, kill the leadership. And now they want Hamas to sign things and, be partners in some kind of treaty to settle the matter. Clearly, the United States and Israel are making it try to appear that they won a great victory. And so on September the 29th and 30th, there was all of this buzz and a lot of attention and fuss to this 20-point uh, plan. It was attributed to Trump for some kind of, he saw it as a peace settlement, that this is peace. And then Hamas came back and said, well, we'll deliver the hostages, but we're not going to go into all the 20 points. But at least we could do that because our people are being starved and they're being attacked and murdered all the time. And that's a pretty ghastly thing. So let's say, tentatively, yes to the first preliminary stage. And more or less, Israel is being sort of shamed into it by the media, by the global outpouring. And their people need a break too, the IDF. So there was some kind of Israel didn't really agree, but it was sort of being pressured. And somehow Donald Trump emerges as some kind of mediator, as if he can just jump into, from supporting and being part of the Israel aggression, the genocide, funding it, backing it, and then he can just step out and be a mediator between Israel and Hamas. So it happened that on October the 13th, there was this very strange event in the Knesset in Israel, the parliament. And it was a love fest. You can't have missed the pictures from it. Trump congratulating Netanyahu congratulating Trump. This is all by way of the fact that the UN judicial system has already charged Israel with genocide. The International Criminal Court has also already sort of indicted Trump for war crimes. They focused particularly on starvation, which turned out to be pretty appropriate because, Gaza is still a place where Palestinians are being killed, and they're still being starved, and they're making up something about, well, you're not able to deliver all the remnants of the what they call the hostages, the Israeli hostages, most of which are actually soldiers. Uh, so the fact that the place has been bombed to smithereens, that some of the Israelis were killed on those buildings that fell down. Some of them are in mass graves, which the Israelis captured up and bury people in mass graves. So the idea of, finding 20 or so remnants of these people under these circumstances, given what Israel has done to that landscape and all the people there, including those from Israel, it's kind of an impossible situation. But it gives them an excuse. Very common thing for Israel to take a little small point like this and say, "Oh, I guess it's all off. It didn't happen. There's no peace deal." And really, there is no peace deal because the fundamental issues haven't been addressed. And the fundamental issues have to do with, I could call it, demilitarization and regime change. That's what these two little words. Now, demilitarization is what happened in the United States when the Indians had to be disarmed and put on reservations, and they didn't like it, and they fought. And Sioux people and a confederacy of people, Indian people, in the Battle of Little Bighorn, fought the U.S. government and were victorious against George Custer. And so this is what it's about. This demilitarization means you become subordinate. You go back to your slave status. You're subject. We have all the weapons. You have, none. At least now, the Palestinian people collectively, there are some armed resistance groups which are fighting a guerrilla warfare against an implacable enemy who wants to dispossess them and take over the land and build, for instance, the canal, the Ben Gurion Canal, take over the oil rights and such. Old story. It's called settler colonialism. It happened in the United States. There's a very direct trajectory between the Indian Wars and Palestinians and Palestine and what they're facing. Technically, the aggression in the Western Hemisphere started in 1492, and it's been one story after the next of this sort of genocide and that form of genocide and this over here and that over here. But the United States Indian Wars, sort of created a very aggressive type of personality for the United States, which, depends on militarism and has hundreds and hundreds of military bases around the world. And those bases are much like, extensions of the forts that the Americans built in their Western expansion. So, of course, they're trying to demilitarize. That means to take people over to, send them into a future of living on reserves or bantustans as sort of a subject, subordinate people, and they can be killed when you want to. In Canada, they actually called the Palestinian state. They said, "Well, we're in favor of a Zionist political state." Carney really said that. That's what he was willing to agree to, a Zionist political state. No Palestinian in their right mind would say, "Oh yeah, I want to live in a Zionist Palestinian state. So, regime change, well, it's a little word that's what's applied to Iran. They say, well, we just want to do regime change as if it's a technical thing. But regime change means like they're trying to regime change the Palestinians who have some way of defending themselves. However, in the unequal the fight, that's the regime of the Palestinians. The U.S. and Israel don't want that regime. They want, a completely subordinate people. So, this whole thing about bringing in Tony Blair and all, putting Gaza under this somehow technical board that is going to be the government, become the government, and then Hamas will disarm. And of course, the Israelis don't disarm. They keep their nukes. They keep their disordinate amount of ruthless coercive power, which they use aggressively throughout the Middle East, especially in recent times, evolving into a full-fledged, accelerated, undeniable genocide that has been happening in that land. So, with that as a long introduction to sort of set the stage, and I'll try to hold myself back and uh, allow Maisoon, the latitude she needs, because I'm sure she could just talk for however long on wherever she digs into it and just keep going and going. And that's why we love her so much. One reason.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tony, for giving me a voice. And I also want to personally thank you for trying to expose um, what's happening, not only in Palestine, but to be honest, around the world. And I think people around the world have woken up to the fact that what is threatening Gaza will be threatening them if they don't put a stop to it. The world community has completely, in my opinion, completely failed the Palestinians. I mean, okay, we've got millions of people out on the streets, but it hasn't really achieved anything, in my opinion. I mean, people in Gaza love to know that, there are millions of people out there who are supporting them with love and compassion and mercy, something unfortunately world leaders do not have. Um, I'd like to correct you on a few things.
Go ahead.
The hostages that um, Hamas took on October the 7th, 99.9% of them were soldiers. They were serving soldiers, IOF soldiers. That was why they went there, in order to take hostages and use them as a barter to release which is now over 12,000 Palestinian hostages abducted by the Israeli entity, a majority of whom have just got administrative charges, nothing else. They even take, little children. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful. There were one or two civilians that were taken on that day, but that was because the Israelis carried out the Hannibal Directive and run amok, started shooting their own people. They sent missiles and rockets, which they fired at the settlements, killing the majority of the 1,200 that they say Hamas butchered. There were no 40 burned babies. That was a lie. And one of these Israeli colonels, or whatever rank he was, he admitted that they were instructed to stop any hostage taking. Their alternative was to kill their own. That was the Hannibal Directive. So the vast majority were Israeli soldiers, IOF soldiers, every single one of them. And then in Gaza, the majority, a lot of them were actually bombed to death by the Israelis, who were bombing Gaza left, right, and center. I mean, they just turned it into a hellhole. Um, and this is the mindset of these Jewish people. They just they have a bloodlust, they have a blood fest. Um, they are a very revengeful, spiteful people, and they love to carry out what they do annually on their Purim rituals, and that is to seek revenge on their perceived enemies. Um, I really don't know what to tell you. I'm so tired. I'm so disheartened by what's going on. Nobody can stop the Israelis. Uh, the Americans are not going to stop them because they work for the Israelis. And everybody keeps going on, all these analysts on all these alternative channels and mainstream, talking about, it's America that controls Israel. And the minute Mr. Trump, tells Netanyahu to stop, he'll stop. I'm sorry, you're living in cuckoo land if you actually believe that. It isn't America that controls the Israelis, it's the other way around.
Well,
Israel is a military, it may be a military colony, but it's not under the governorship of the United States. The United States is a cash cow. That's all it is. The United States is actually considered by the rabbis in Israel as Edom. And I don't know, you can search a lot of these YouTube videos and you can hear these rabbis talking about the destruction of Edom, that is, Christian United States. United States has gone down. It's bankrupt. It's been bankrupted morally, financially, and politically. And it will fall. The United States will fall because the Israelis will take it over as their superpower. They want to become the world's superpower.
well, haven't they already done so?
Well, yes, but people don't understand that. They don't see it. They still think America controls the strings of Netanyahu. Trump doesn't. It's the other way around.
Well,
Netanyahu is blackmailing Trump because he's a
absolutely,
sexual
he's blackmailing them,
because he's
and
a sexual pervert. He's a
yeah.
sexual deviant pervert. And Netanyahu has got dirt on everybody. He's got dirt on all major world leaders, and I'm sure he's got filth on a lot of our Zionist Arab rulers who were all installed by the British. And most of these Arab tribes are Jewish. They have Jewish roots, and that is why they don't come to the help of the Palestinian people. The
I'm
House of Saud are Jewish, and then they've got their branches in Bahrain and Qatar and the UAE, and the UAE is the worst. The UAE has completely sold its soul to the Israelis and to the Jews. 89% of the population of the UAE today are foreigners. They are not indigenous Arabs, and they don't actually practice Islam at all. They are not Muslims. These Arab rulers are not Muslims. And Sisi is a Moroccan Jew. The king of Morocco is a Jew. The King Abdullah of Jordan, of the Hashemite tribe, he's half Jewish on his mother's side. That's why they were specially chosen to rule the Arab world on behalf of the British Empire. And it
and the
is the British
Saudis.
Empire that controls the United States policies, like with the Rothschilds. They are behind so many things. They own the BlackRock and the other ones, Vanguard. They own all these corporatocracies. They own all the banks around the world. They control all the political shenanigans that goes on. They go and meet every year at the Bilderbergs and discuss and they plan what they're going to do next against this country and that country. You've got Trump now trying to wage a war against Venezuela. He wants a regime change. And that's because now Venezuela apparently has discovered more oil reserves. Look, Tony, even the war in Gaza, it's all about money. It's about profit. It's about the theft of land, resources, and water. Water especially is very important to the Israeli entity. They've been planning this even, going back to the 1950s. Apparently, what's his name? Ben-Gurion in the 1950s had a meeting with Albert Einstein to discuss plans to build a canal, the Ben-Gurion Canal, through Gaza. But for some reason, there were obstacles, so they couldn't do it then. So they've rejuvenated it now. This is what Trump is drooling over. That's why he keeps talking about his Riviera and his casinos. Excuse me. And, he says, oh, Gaza needs nightclubs and casinos. And he'd love to see his hotels in Gaza. And when he talks about, we're going to rebuild Gaza, they're not going to rebuild it for Palestinians. They're building it for the Israeli settlements. And the Arab states, these, honestly, I could use so many insulting swear words against these rulers. They're all in it for money. And it won't be Israel that will rebuild Gaza. It'll be the Arabs. Arab money will rebuild Gaza for the Israelis. You've already got the Jew Mohammed bin Salman. Actually, he should change his Christian name. He should change his name from Muhammad to Moshe, because he's not a Muslim, and he insults the name of our prophet with the name Muhammad. He insults our prophet's legacy, peace be upon him. He already started throwing out his own people throughout occupied Arabia, and I will call it occupied Arabia. I'm not going to call it Saudi Arabia. It's occupied Arabia. He's been throwing the indigenous people from their homes to build his Neom city, which will be connected eventually to the Ben Gurion Canal. This is their plan. It's all about money. Money and profit. And to hell with the bloody Palestinians. They don't give a shit about Palestinian life. Qatar doesn't give a shit about Palestinian life. Qatar is a two-faced hypocrite.
Well, wait a minute. We got to make a distinction between the governors of these countries and the people of these countries, because my sense is among, the general population of people who are Arab, and most of them are Muslims, but some of them might be Christians, or some of them might be communists, or, or atheist or whatever, that the people, the Arab people, like you said, I think in the introduction, the onus is these old families who were deeply integral to the British Empire and the Oriental Empire that was written about a lot, and the British were very masterful in sort of getting involved in Muslim politics and building up animosities and divide and conquer. And Bernard Lewis, that was the background he came from. And, he moved from Britain and all this heritage of being an academic who, was part of this heritage of Orientalism. They have to this day, they have institutes of Orientalism. He came in to the United States and brought all of that because clearly, the next stage after the Cold War was going to be to go into, Eurasia. And so, 9/11, made enemies of the Muslims and Arabs. And, that was the main purpose of 9/11, put together by, the Project for the New American Century, which I'll call, a
Peanut.
neocon Jewish organization, Jews in the United States and in Israel, and who knows where else, because, Jews do have an international, organized Jewry is an international network, and it's more powerful than Israel. And it's not just Israel that is, empowering Israel and sort of taking over the United States. It's this international network. And so this point that we have to, like, just like us, we share the same phenomena. We've somehow been subjected to some procedures that mean that our elections don't count for anything, or we're so indoctrinated with, slime media, lying media, that some people are persuaded. But whatever has happened to make it possible, the elections are, there's a million ways to rig them. And uh, our governments are in no way accountable to us. And we start to see it and realize it, and buckle against it. And the Arab general population is in a similar situation. And really, the only way out is for people the world over to realize that these governments on top of us lying to us, and lying to us in a way that causes us to go against our interests, and, lying to us in a way that leads to this enslavement, whether through, you know, digital currency, digital IDs, making internet digital prisons for us. So every financial transaction, we need, the internet. And you can cut off the food, control us through this digital enslavement, which is being, we've been injected. We're more easy to develop as robots, transhumanism. We're facing, all of us in the world, the average people, sort of the same dilemma. It seems to me in Russia and China, there is maybe a little more latitude. I mean, I think of Moscow right now as sort of like Paris. If you are interested in free speech and you want to go to a liberated place, Moscow would be that place. And China, definitely is a conscience. They ruled the world 5,000 years ago. They have a tremendous internal resource of their own heritage, and they have an economic system, a political economy, which is, incredible. And we can't really fight them. That's a ridiculous idea, and they make everything now. So and we're not going to replicate their success in doing so. So we need to, make peace, make love, not war. And so to this anger at these British, and, a lot of the families do have Jewish roots, some Jewish roots in these Arab country emirs, the sheikhs, these family dynasties. Imagine that we allow, that we think that's become normal, that we kind of accept that. Like, didn't we sort of get beyond that idea that, it's who you're born to, and that decides everything, that
No,
decides.
no, they were man-made. They
Yeah.
the
But yeah,
royal
but
family is
once you
man-made. The serfdoms were man-made. They were made by the
once
British.
they're made, then the children, the descendants, take over from their parents, their grandparents, and we're stuck in that old system. And it's not a constitutional monarchy. It's effective. It's actually concentrating huge wealth and huge, discretionary power. You can do anything. There's no real limits to what you can do. It's just what the people will let you get away with doing. This is all by way of saying, this dilemma in Arab countries is kind of a dilemma in a lot of places throughout the world.
The Arabs who are righteous and true are rotting in jails in these Gulf Arab states. Egypt has over 50,000 dissidents in jail. Many of them are tortured. It's a well-known, documented fact. The same goes with the repression from the Arab rulers in Arabia and the UAE and Bahrain. And in some of these countries, what they do is they bring in outside forces, like from India and Pakistan, to act as their police and their army. Arabia has recruited Pakistan's army. Pakistan is another shameful, what's the word? Traitor. All these Muslim countries, they've all failed the Muslim Ummah, all of them. They're all working for the West.
I just
Indonesia is supposed to have the largest. Indonesia has the largest number of Muslims in the Islamic world, but they've done F all for Palestine. They did F all for Lebanon. They did nothing for Syria or Iraq. Nothing. They let people die. And now the president of Indonesia is, having close relations with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, exposed the fact that he discussed ethnically transferring Palestinians to Indonesia. And the Indonesian president panicked because he was worried, what his people would do. And he denied it. But in fact, it's the truth.
I think I can compliment what you're saying here. Please give me a chance. Oh, somebody's horn is not going off. Uh, Indonesia and Pakistan, like there was the meeting in the Knesset on October 13th. And then Trump went over, not with Netanyahu, not to meet any Hamas delegates, to meet with many world leaders, not only Arab leaders. But since you're talking about Pakistan and Indonesia, there were two amazing clips. One was whoever is the leader of Pakistan, he got up to the microphone and he did a eulogy saying, Donald Trump, I'm going to nominate him for the
Yeah,
Nobel Prize.
yeah.
And he's the most wonderful man. He just completely was obsequious and stroked his ego. Like everybody knows, if you want to get your way with Trump, you have to say beautiful, wonderful, flattering things. And it was a really extreme display of that. So that's who Pakistan has as their top official. And Indonesia, I hadn't ever seen him on camera, the new head of Indonesia. He was caught on camera after the event, talking with Trump and setting up some deal for Eric, which is presumably Trump's son. And so they were, talking softly, but the microphone was, picking up some of it. And it was a private deal. Like this is what's going on all around Trump now. It's all private deals. And he wants a cut of everything going on.
Yeah.
So it just displays, Indonesia, which, could be a big player in the world. They had in the 60s, from Sukarno, from Suharto to Sukarno, a big, that
The CIA and the British were behind that
like
coup.
Suharto was a kind of a rock solid freedom fighter. And anyway, the regime.
Yes, yes, Sukarno was very popular, but then the CIA brought in
Granted, yeah,
General Suharto,
but it's the
and
other way around. Yeah,
yeah, and he murdered. Um, the
every,
CIA gave him a long list, and they ended up murdering over 1 million
yeah, and
people
then
in
they
Indonesia.
just moved into Indonesia with all their American companies and everything, and
Yeah,
and subordinate, and I guess it's been that way sort of ever since. So that, anyway, so that's how the world is being run. As you say, it's all about the deals. It's all about who is in a position to make the deals. And obviously, by just deciding at the October 13th, essentially saying, "Well, we won the war, we beat the Palestinians. It's a triumph for us," and that's how it was in the Knesset, with standing ovation after standing ovation. All these people who are the number one people who should be facing the International Court of Justice, who should be facing, the International Criminal Court. And Netanyahu already is. Imagine having your leader as a charged war criminal, or an indicted war criminal who would be arrested, has to be arrested by any members of this International Criminal Court. He's a fugitive on the run. We see him out there, but when he's flying, he can't even fly his plane over certain countries who are members, which is many, many
Yeah, but
countries
they're
all
not
over
going
Europe.
to stop. They're not going to
Oh,
stop
they're
him.
not going to, but still he's
Yeah,
he's rooting
he
it,
dodges.
showing
He
that
dodges.
he's afraid. So here are all these people who should be in jail as the winners and the champions, giving themselves awards and plaques and contracts, and so it was quite a spectacle.
Yeah, and he tried. Netanyahu applied to the ICC to withdraw the arrest warrants because he's made this peace deal, with the people in Gaza.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then
so he thinks yeah, that's it now. Everything's hunky dory. We can all get back to normal. Forget the hundreds and thousands of people genocided in Gaza. Let's move on with our corporations and our trade deals and our secret contracts. Make money, 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 money. This is what it's all about. Um, I mean, Israel. Um, they wanted to take over Gaza's oil and gas fields. It was discovered some years ago, and apparently the Palestinian Authority was going to invite British Gas to come and explore the reserves. But then, of course, the Israelis suddenly said it belongs to them. You know, they found huge amounts of oil reserves in Gaza's waters, by the way. It belongs to Gaza, it belongs to Palestine. But the Israelis have taken it over. They're also fighting over it with the Lebanon. The late Sheikh Nasrallah, told them, you're not going to get away with this. And thereafter, the water in the Litani River, apparently it's sort of pure water, and
and
the
that's
Israelis need
right.
it. They need it for their settlements, and the same with the Golan Heights. Thereafter, the water resources in the Golan Heights near Mount Hermon and so on, and it's got some of the richest cultivated land in Syria, and they said they'll never give it back. I mean, they haven't given it back since 1967. And this so-called peace deal, which I spell PIECE,
Mhm.
it's all a farce. It was written and presented to Donald Trump. It was written by Netanyahu, by Kushner, Witkoff, and all these other Jewish billionaires. Miriam Adelson has, played a huge part, and you saw that condescending. It was the most cringing spectacle that you could ever. I mean, I don't know how America feels having such a dreadful president who ingratiates himself so publicly at the Knesset in a foreign government and praising the obscene wealth of this Jewish bitch, and I won't apologize for saying that. How much money did she give him? And he's bragging about how much she's worth, and that out of that huge wealth, she's gone and given him 60 million or whatever it was. I mean, the way he ingratiates himself for these people. And then I was watching a video earlier on where he was bragging to the Israeli government about his daughter. You know, oh, my daughter loves Israel so much that she converted to Judaism. I mean, it just sums it all. And then this guy, Cohen, he openly declared that Donald Trump is the first Jewish president of the United States. Actually, that isn't true, because Eisenhower was Jewish, and so were the German Roosevelt families.
And
You know,
Lyndon
they
Johnson.
pose as, of course, as usual, they pose as Christians. And then you had apparently the Bush clan have got Jewish roots from their mother's side. So he's not the first Jewish president of the United States, but this Levi Cohen, or whatever his name was, bragging about it. And then, of course, we were told by two Israeli rabbis, and it was printed in the Israeli press, that Donald Trump converted to the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish cult back in 2016. He's not a Christian. People seem to think that he's still a Christian. He's not a Christian. He's Jewish now. He belongs to the Chabad sect, and they're the worst of the worst.
And
And
Putin
it's
is
all
very
these people.
influenced by Chabad Lubavitch
Yeah,
too.
who is?
Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, Vladimir. Well, I'm not a fan of Putin. I'm not a fan of China either. China and Russia are both globalists. Let's not beat about the bush here. Okay, there might be, opposition, the way they want to run the world, but they're all working for the same thing. They're all working for the same master. Putin, like Donald Trump, was gifted and granted a name, which I can't remember now. Donald Trump apparently was given the title of King Cyrus. Putin was also given a title, I can't remember it. And he swore to the rabbis when he visited Jerusalem some years ago. He swore to them that he would help them rebuild their pagan sacrificial temple in Jerusalem. He believes in the state of Israel. He was brought up by a Jewish woman. I don't know if he's Jewish himself, but apparently on his mother's side, because some people claim that his mother's surname was a typical Jewish Russian name. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I'm just putting it out there for you. You can do your own research. But he was brought up by in a Jewish community, and he's very, very staunchly pro-Israel. Look at the way he treated Syria. Not once did Putin ever stop the Israelis bombing Syria. Not once. And he was supposed to be an ally of Syria. But not once did he stop Israel bombing it. And why did he? And they admitted, a Russian, I can't remember if it was Medvedev or Lavrov, they admitted that they were liaising their military actions in Syria with their Israeli counterparts. You don't do that if you're an ally of Syria, for God's sake. You don't ally yourself militarily with your ally's opponent. Doesn't make sense to me. Everything is just all wrong. Politics is rotten. It's rotten to the core. We are ruled by corrupt, greedy psychopaths who live off the blood of ordinary people who work damn hard, pay their taxes, and their taxes go to fund the state of Israel. That's where all our money is going. Even the money that they send to the Ukraine, it goes to Israel, because the Ukraine was declared even by Zelensky. He declared it a greater part of Eretz Israel. This is all the Khazarian Empire. They want to take Egypt. They want to take Jordan. They want to take parts of Arabia, even going up to the Euphrates. And they have also declared that Cyprus and parts of Greece was part of the old Jewish Empire. We already know that they've sent about over 55,000 Israeli settlers to Cyprus, and they're going around in Cyprus buying up land, buying up homes, increasing prices, which the locals can't afford. They've done the same in Greece. And forget about Turkey. Turkey is another bloody liar. It's another two-faced hypocrite. Erdogan isn't even Turkish. He's Georgian. His parents were from Georgia. And he's a fake Muslim. Turkey is run by the Sabbatean Zevi Donma Jewish cult. It's not a Muslim country. It might appear Muslim. The ordinary people might be decent Muslims, but their leadership are not. Their army is not. It's honestly so mind-boggling and so daunting. It does my head in. I really don't know how we're going to remove this evil from the world. I really don't. We need a massive people's revolution around the world. We really do. Because we all, whether you like it or not, we all share the same enemy. Just please open your eyes and see that. Look into the prism and see where we're all headed. And you talked about digital IDs and AI technology. I tell you something, this AI technology scares the shit out of me. I was watching something earlier on with Yuval Harari of the World Economic Forum, bragging about taking over the human mind with his AI robots. I mean, really, is that something we want to leave up? Is that our legacy to the next generation? I feel like telling my daughter, please don't have another child, because the world you'll be bringing it in is pure evil. I mean, I've always wanted to be a grandma. By the grace of God, I have become one. I would love more grandchildren, but at the same time, I just think, really, can we risk bringing in more innocent babies, innocent children into this world that's going to turn into an AI kingdom? Really? Do you want to be ruled by AI? The Israelis are using AI to kill Gaza. They used AI to destroy Gaza.
Well, it's
I mean,
Plan and
what kind of
Fear. It's
future is
part of
that?
a company based in the United States, started in the United States, started with CIA funding, as Oracle was started by CIA funding. CIA funding leads to Oracle, leads to this massive body of wealth. And Larry Ellison, who reaps the rewards, he uses it to support, the IDF, certain philanthropic group to support the Israeli army. And now he's buying up all the media. And it was Paramount, which includes CBS. And then and already CBS has played its hand. The son David hired Barry Weiss, who, is, to me, kind of your dichotomous opposite. And she's going to, become a media mogul. And they also purchased TikTok. Like Larry Ellison is in charge with TikTok, which has 2 billion people. It was a very innovative platform like Facebook and
Yeah, I joined it. I joined it a
all of
few
that.
months
And
ago.
you were a big fan of it. And then it was becoming too influential in terms of allowing free speech, and young people and all kinds of people had all kinds of critical things to say of Israel and identified with the Palestinians at the receiving end of all of this genocidal assault. So it had to change hands. So, of course, Donald Trump took his orders and said, okay, we're going to pass laws and it can't be it can't continue to be a Chinese based company. We're going to take it over in the United States. By taking over that company, there's a huge database that comes with it, all its uh, customers,
Algorithms.
all its, so this is what AI needs. It needs massive amounts of information, like, for instance, information on, our DNA structure. Everybody's human genome is uploaded. You need, huge amounts of electricity. How are we going to get all this electricity? Like AI, just invades us all. So they have much more information available to, like, in this case, Larry Ellison and whoever he does business with, uh, than we know about ourselves. And so TikTok, and then there's the whole propaganda aspect of it, of, and I think Barry Weiss is going to have a big role in deciding how to do the logarithms in TikTok. So what do they allow on and what can be talked about and what can't be talked about? Same old story, same old, same old.
Yeah, they did it with
And
Facebook, they did it with
yeah,
WhatsApp, they did it with Twitter and
yeah.
X,
And
and I
and
was devastated, because I joined TikTok only a few months ago because my sister kept sending me things, so I thought, "Okay, let's join it." And, there's a lot of good stuff on there, but unfortunately, since this takeover, the minute I post a comment, even if it's one sentence, it's removed within 2 seconds. Literally 2 seconds. It doesn't stay on there. They don't want anything that criticizes the Israeli entity. You can't talk about Judaism. You can't talk about Zionism. You can't talk about the Talmud and the Torah. Nothing, nothing. You've got to say, I love Jews and I love Israel, and all your stuff will get through. A lot of, decent people, brave people who have been posting on TikTok, they're all complaining. They're saying all my videos have been taken off, all of them, and now they're trying to find sort of other ways of putting up a video. How can I describe this to you? Like this one guy, he's a wonderful American with a lot of compassion. His name's Guy Christensen, and he used to produce some absolutely fantastic um, videos. And now he's so frustrated because they're being taken down. So what he has to do, he has to find sort of innovative ways of getting the message through without the algorithms kicking in. But more often than not, they are. I mean, in the end, he did a video where he hardly said anything. He just played this stupid music and, tried to sort of throw in some text into the video. This is all wrong. And then another thing that really pisses me off are people who complain about all this social media control, but they still continue using them. It's like Facebook. People still use Facebook. I boycott Facebook. I won't use Facebook. I do not want to join Facebook. I don't belong to X or Twitter. Um, I joined WhatsApp because some of my relatives are on WhatsApp, but I don't like using it because I know that the Israelis are eavesdropping on WhatsApp. I have my own channel on Telegram. I prefer Telegram. I don't know why people are so reluctant to use Telegram, or, come up with stupid excuses that they don't like the format, they don't like this, they don't like that. But at least, it's encrypted still, even with all the pressure that Durov got from the Europeans when he was arrested. But it's
France.
still encrypted,
Hmm.
and I'm still able to to post all my stuff on it with my views and my opinions, although Apple and Google Play have blocked my channel because you see, the worst enemy for these people is the truth.
Mm.
And the worst enemy are those people who expose their conspiracies against humanity, which is what they are doing.
Yeah. I'm going to intervene here if I can. Uh, that it's close to home because the platform I'm using now is Substack. And Substack, so far hasn't tried to censor me in any way. And it is known as a free speech place. And it gets a lot of people writing here and uh, paying attention to Substack based on that reputation. But the irony is, Barry Weiss's site, Free Press, is started on Substack. And it got special favors from the people who run Substack so that it could, for instance, advertise on all the subscribers. Uh, this particular site run by Barry Weiss. And so Substack had a big role in building up Free Press. And now Free Press is going to go into the CBS News conglomerate run by the person who started Free Press, Barry Weiss. And Barry Weiss, she came out of a history of at Columbia University, like the kind of nightmare students that go into class with an objective of taking down their professors and complaining about them and bringing their complaints forward to the dean and to the
Yes, they do.
Anti-Defamation League. And so that's her background. Glenn Greenwald has written about her. So she came to prominence, basically stopping free press, which was the Zionist thing. I'll call it the Zionist thing, which is, you don't want to debate people. You want to deplatform them. You want to take away their reputation, their career, their viability, their livelihood. And, the history of that, I've experienced some of that. It goes back very far. By far, the biggest threat to academic freedom is
It's
the Zionists.
academic. It is academic assassination. That's
It's
what it is.
academic. Well, yeah. And of course, the assassination impulse sort of extends right into the Gaza situation, where we see sort of in Technicolor this assassination. I mean, and the vast majority of Jewish Israelis back it. They want more of it. They want it done faster. They want the IDF to do it, more with more.
Have you heard what the families of the released soldiers have now said? They said that they now have told Netanyahu, go in there and completely wipe them all out. They got their people back. This is what we've been saying all along. I've been saying this all along. All they want are their POWs back. And once they get them back, hell will break loose in Gaza, and they will annihilate all of them. And the figure that you keep hearing, 68,000, 60, whatever it is, thousand, it's far, far greater than that. We've still got hundreds of thousands of bodies under the rubble. It's amazing how they're sending the United Nations calculated, or was it WHO, that there's 70 million tons of rubble that needs to be removed from Gaza, and they're very quick to send in all their machinery. Israel apparently objected to the Turks sending in heavy machinery. I don't know why they object to the Turks. I mean, the Turks have been helping them from day dot, going work, colluding with the Israeli government, providing them with arms, fuel, weapons, etc., etc. Um, but and Egypt all of a sudden decided it'll do its bit and send in some crews to help recover bodies. But they're not recovering Palestinian bodies, they're recovering the Jewish bodies. The
It's a
Jewish,
great
the Jewish victims of Israeli bombing. That's why they're there, to help them recover the Jewish bodies,
and
not
just
not
to
not Palestinian bodies.
yeah, like I wanna I've been just thinking about the grotesque nature of, going into these rubbles where there's, tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of Palestinian people crushed, dying horrible deaths. And now the priority must be to go in and try to find the Jewish bodies. The
Yeah.
Palestinian bodies, to hell with it. And but this is the master race. This is the chosen people.
Well,
Like
the Israelis are complaining. They're complaining Hamas is violating the ceasefire because they're not sending in the bodies that they're asking for. But it's like the UN chap said, it's a time consuming thing because you've got all that heavy rubble to remove. You can't just remove it in 24 hours. Plus the fact you've got to do all this
10 years.
DNA testing, it's going to take ages. Hamas, they're violating the ceasefire. And then,
It
of
was
course,
done in
Hamas
bad
refused.
faith. It was
Huh?
done in bad faith. The
Exactly.
Israelis and Trump were in bad faith, and they're also saying unless Hamas disarms and just comes up with their
But
hands up,
Hamas never agreed to, it never
never
agreed
agreed
to
to that.
disarm.
That
It never
Trump
agreed to
that's
disarm.
announcing.
They agreed to release all of them. They agreed to release them, the live or the dead. They agreed to do that. And they agreed on a couple of other things. But the Israelis have reneged. They're not letting in the humanitarian aid through the Rafah crossing. They're settlers on the other side at that Sham Shalom, whatever it's called. They're stopping all the lorries coming through. They're not. Then they've let in a few lorries, but it's only a trickle of what they promised under this so-called ceasefire deal. And then Hamas, at first, they start because this gang that was created by the Israelis and funded by the Israelis, the Al-Shabaab gang, who were the ones who were stealing all the food, all the humanitarian food, which they blamed on Hamas, but it was the Shabab gang. They're the ones who killed that wonderful, wonderful Gazan journalist, Saleh Jafourawi.
Hmm.
And Hamas and the other resistance fighters managed to catch the ones who assassinated and tortured him. And they've dealt with them as they should. And at first, listen to this, at first Trump was congratulating them for dealing with these gangs. And then the next day, because Israel was condemning Hamas for doing this because these are their gang, all of a sudden Trump says, "Oh, if you don't stop, I'm going to wipe you out." So
Yeah,
1 minute, because he was ignorant of who these people were, and then finding out that they are actually Israel's little gang, they're terrorists.
yeah.
He's changed his tune.
We're getting near the end here, so and actually, in all his misspeaking, Trump actually did say, well, let's consider a one-state solution, which is like everybody's equal. You can have ethnic diversity or whatever, and a one-state solution. When they tried to have a conference in 2006 in 2009 in Canada, the Zionists tried to stop such a conference. Like they do not want a country with equal treatment of all its citizens, regardless of their
No,
background.
you
But,
can
but the
never.
key point that I'm trying to make here before, and then you can have the last word. But I just want to develop a key point here. Like we haven't talked too much about Hamas, but Hamas is based in Gaza. And Palestinians, there are many different jurisdictions. Like, for instance, another occupied territory, and it's occupied because it was put aside for the Arabs in the UN plan, partition plan in 1947-48. It's what they call the West Bank. The UN has declared in a legal ruling that this is illegally occupied territory. So the people, not only in Gaza, but in that part of occupied territory, that's another group. Then, it's very important to consider what are the Palestinian people who are citizens of Israel. And there's about 20% of the citizens of Israel are actually Palestinians, and they're represented in the Knesset and whatnot. And so far, they haven't been uh, directly put in the line of fire, but they can see what's coming. And then there are Palestinians
Yeah,
in
they've
the
already
yeah,
arrested one. They've arrested one MK uh, member of parliament,
yeah.
Hanan something or another. I can't remember her name. And then
And
you
then
had
there
the
are
brawl
yeah,
between Trump and these two, Knesset members who were against
yeah.
what he was saying.
I'm I'm going at the sort of big picture here, and then there are many, many refugees in Syria, in Lebanon, and Jordan is most of their population are Palestinians. And that's a bizarre situation. And then there are the Palestinians who've left or have been forced to leave and told they have no right of return. So there's a global, could we call it the Palestinian diaspora, a global constituency of Palestinians. So Hamas very correctly says, we're not in a position to say yes or no to the vast majority of the points made in this 20-point plan, because it pertains to the interests and rights and futures of all the Palestinians. And so they're quite correct to say, we just can't come to some conclusion on behalf of the whole Palestinian constituency. And so that's something that may not be clear to people. And then it shows how weird this treatment of Hamas, that now they need Hamas to agree to something. And so after trying to kill them, but oh no, we need some token signature on this. And after all, we were making the other side of the war, which was a genocide more than a war, this group called Hamas. And we haven't, I try to get into it once in a while. They have a complex history, and they're a complex organization. But anyway, so this deal is really not in a forum that can be handled. Plus the fact that there's these UN procedures taking place where the people on the Israeli side and the American side are criminals, and they're even in the process of being declared so by international law, by the instruments of international law. And those courts, of course, take a beating and are they're assaulted, and the judges who aren't towing the line, no doubt, are feeling the pressure. And so anyway, that's where I'd uh,
Yeah,
start to
well, I
say
mean, you
my
had.
take, and you may have a few things to say, and we can do this more. We don't have to solve the whole thing right now.
I mean, you've already got, some of well, America especially has now declared that the West Bank is not occupied territory. They've already declared this. Trump has declared it's not occupied territory, and the United States Congress, they don't call it occupied territory.
No king,
Whereas
no king.
Some European countries still believe that. And it's funny talking about war criminals. Um, Trump has a habit of doing this actually. He does like a tongue-in-cheek revelation when he was talking. He was because America is not only complicit, it's been a partner in this genocide. And basically Trump admitted it. He admitted it when he spoke at the Knesset, where he said, I gave everything that Netanyahu wanted. every arms, every rifle. He even said some of them I'd never even heard of, but I
Yeah,
still gave it to him. So
like
there you
that
have,
we don't know
I hope
about it.
ICC is listening to this. There you have complete admission from the United States president that he gave this genocidal state all the weapons that they needed to genocide and Holocaust Gaza.
Is that, shall we end it there? That's
Yeah,
good.
there can never ever be a two-state solution, Tony. Too much has happened, especially on the Palestinian side. There is no way in hell that Palestinians will want to live next to the murderers next door who butchered their families and annihilated entire. I think is what is it, over 2,000 families completely wiped out. Completely. There's no
Mhm.
way. I will never. I don't want a two-state solution. I want the Israeli entity to end. I want them all to sod off and go back to all the countries they came from. They don't belong in Palestine and they don't belong in the Middle East.
Regime change for what we now call Israel.
Yeah. It's got to go. The Israeli entity has got to go. And those Jews who want to stay and, they're a tiny, absolute tiny minority. But like you said at the beginning, the vast majority of Israeli Jews and Western Jews, they want the annihilation of the Palestinian people to set up the greater Eretz Israel. This is what it's all about. The Israeli empire to rule the world. It's the Jewish world order. And I won't say new world order because there's nothing new about it. It's a Jewish
Okay.
world order.
Rob,
Anyway,
over and out, and with great
okay.
thanks as
Thanks for
usual.
the opportunity,
That
Tony.
was
Take care.
interesting, Mason. That was damn interesting. Thank you very much.
It's my
Bye now.
pleasure. Thank you.